All right, how's everybody doing? This is the Comic Samurai. I want to welcome you to my next video. And tonight we're going to be continuing my series on my favorite comic book covers that feature a caboose, rear end, derriere. But let's go ahead and jump right in. We're going to pick up right where we left off with this Battle Chasers #1 with a beautiful cover done by Joe Madureira. And it features that character, Red Monica. And this is the pinnacle, the height of a caboose cover. This one set the standards for all other caboose covers. Let's go ahead and move it on. Next up, we got Wildstorm Swimsuit Special #2. And this is a Jim Lee beauty. And I'm going to go ahead and put up a full image of this wraparound cover because it is worth seeing. That back features a picture of Zealot and the other three beauties on the front. I love this beach scene here. It is one of my favorites, and Jim Lee can do it like no other. I mean, he deserves all the respect and accolades that he gets. Next up, we got Homage Studios Swimsuit Special #1, and this is another Jim Lee special, and it features that character of Voodoo, and she was kind of the sex symbol of the Image Comics in the beginning when they started out. And she's a member of Wildcats there, and she is showing off what she's got. She's always got a great pose. Next up, we got Voodoo #3. Now, this series was written by Alan Moore, and a lot of those covers are reminiscent of Mucha there, but there are such beauties there. I love this one. It's my favorite of the Voodoo series, and it's got a beautiful caboose cover. This one, it's everything great about those early Image Comics. Next up, we got Powers #28, and Dina Pilgrim is one of my favorite female characters in comic books. That tough cop, all attitude, and this one with the gun tucked in her belt. I love that image. With sometimes just wearing the jeans and the tank top t-shirt sends a message. I like that one. Next up is Dark Horse Presents #53. This is the first example of a Frank Miller derriere cover that I'm going to show, and I love the noir quality of this comic book. Goldie there, smoking a cigarette, holding a smoking gun there, wearing a smoking red dress. It's got all the elements that I like in a caboose cover. Next up, we got Vengeance of Vampirella #7. And this is an Adams Hughes cover, and you can always recognize Adam Hughes covers. They just go above and beyond in the sexiness. He knows how to draw females better than anybody else. And this one, I love the stark black and white with red and yellow, simple colors. It's very graphically well done. I love that one. Next up, we got Vampirella #3, and this is another Adam Hughes cover here, and it's a different pose of Vampirella. Now, this one is a little less graphic and a little more illustrative, meaning it's not such a separation of colors. There's more of a painted feel to it. It looks more like a photograph than a graphic representation of an image, and this, I think, is complemented by the additional details there. I love that image. Next up, we got Frank Miller's RoboCop #8, and I wanted to show this other example of a Frank Miller derriere cover because it is so different. This scratchy line work that he used on this one, it was really signified a change in his style, and if you ask me, it wasn't for the better. It is a caboose cover, but it's not one of my favorites. Frank Miller is so hit or miss with me, and this one was a miss. Next up, we got Lobo's Back #2, and this is a Simon Bisley cover, and I love this image. That is Lobo there. He died in this series, and they switched bodies with him, and he got put in a female body here. And this one also has a hidden image there. There was a lot of speculation whether or not something sneaky was hidden in that elbow, and if you want to investigate it, I'll let you figure it out. But this is a great derriere cover, but no, you're looking at Lobo's rear end. Next up, we got Secret Six #2, and this character of Pistolera is one of my favorites. She dies in this issue. She gets blown away by Deadshot, and it is horrific. But this cover shot of her, I love the look of that character, and I think she should be brought back somehow and just have her own miniseries. I think she was awesome. Next up, we got Justice League #12, and I return to Jim Lee. He can draw that female form and especially intimate moments like this one, shared between Wonder Woman and Superman, unlike anyone else. It's also kind of a bondage cover as well as a caboose cover where Wonder Woman's lasso is wrapped around Superman. I dig that image. Next up, we got Zatanna #3, and the second part video here features a little more mainstream characters here. This one of Zatanna, it really is a great image. I love that circle of flame, her magic there. It's definitely a caboose cover. It's offset with that top hat. Oh, I love that cover. Next up, we got the X-Men number 108 with a beautiful cover done by Cochran. Now, it's hard to imagine that in the early days, Storm was the only female member of the new X-Men. She did join Jean Grey when the original members returned, but for a while there, she was the only female figure, and she held that position so well. If anyone is capable of representing femininity in the Marvel Comics line, it is Aurora, Storm, the goddess of weather. Love that one. Next up, we got new X-Men number 151. And I just had to remind you that this is a Caboose series, so you get a little bit of everything here. And this Mark Silvestri one will go down in history as everybody is up in arms about it. They didn't like this one, but I dug it. I think it's a good pose of Wolverine. I'm a sucker for anything Wolverine. Next up, we got Shayna the She-Devil number 2. And we're getting back to what everybody likes here. And this is a Frank Cho cover. And he can draw females and sexuality and adventure comics unlike anybody else. And I think we were so thirsty for that type of comic book when the Shayna series hit that this one was just perfectly timed for its era. I love that cover. Next up, we got Alpha Flight number 64. And this is another Jim Lee image here. And it's some of his earlier work. But this Snowbird character is just showing a derriere on the cover with all these other beasts there. I love that juxtaposition of these monstrous, huge, hulking forms put against and compared to the slender, feminine form on the edge there. And even the colors complement each other with the dark figure in the background and this white costume of Snowbird. I love that one. Next up, we got the Punisher Painkiller Jane number 1. And it's hard to imagine a Punisher Caboose cover, but here we go with Painkiller Jane there in her red pants with the Punisher, both of them aiming at the camera. You're looking down the barrel there and a red spotlight behind them. I love the composition of that cover. Next up, we got Spider-Man and the Black Cat number 2, done by the Dodsons. And I love that character of Felicia Hardy, the Black Cat. Her and Spider-Man had such great love interest and tension between those two characters. It was always fun when she made an appearance. All right, I always save the best for last. Next up, we got Namor number 50. And I love this cover here. Features an image of Namor locking lips with Sue Storm, the Invisible Woman. Now, she was married to Reed Richards at the time, but he was assumed dead. But what I like about this one is her invisibility powers are working, and you can see Namor's legs through her body. She's kind of phasing that invisibility, and it's right where you want it in the caboose. I've just never seen her partially invisible. I always thought it was kind of a whole thing, but she could just make certain parts of her invisible. And on this one, it draws your eye right where it wants to be on this amazing Namor cover. Well, those were my favorite caboose covers. Let me know which ones I forgot. Thanks for joining me and have a great night.